You're listening to From a Certain Point Askew, the only Star Wars podcast that dares to combine such ingredients like idiocy, ineptitude, and total disengagement for this farce of a podcast to reach the full apex of incredulous disaster. That was a line of dialogue from that show right there. Wasn't that nice? I didn't say it as like with oomph like the Empire, but you know, this show is a little more lighthearted. But I love that line. If you're wondering who I am, and this is your first time listening, I'm Jason the Ginger Jedi Guy. I'm broadcasting live from inside my Wookiee Poo studios. I am not alone on the Skype lines. I've got my fellow dark side compatriot, I guess, Matt, aka Darth Mathias, is on the Skype lines, who does all of the notes. Let's just give you credit where credit's due.
Look at me! Sorry, I was channeling my Luthen Rael there.
Oh.
He scared me when he said that.
He's a hell of an actor.
He is.
Those Skarsgårds might go someplace.
I think they might. It might work out for him in the end. Just want to say before we get into it really quickly, this like the build-up and the anticipation for the Andor series was so great, especially on my end.
Yes.
And it is fucking delivering.
It hasn't let down. Like it is. I'm kind of upset with myself that I wasn't this excited for this show because like look at the talent that's behind it. And that's like where I like geek out, you know. And I guess I have, but I didn't expect this to be because like I've talked before, the Rogue One was a little off for me, but rewatching, I'm like, I love this movie. It's a great movie, but even though this is like no lightsabers, no anything, like the writing is so fucking compelling, the characters, and I'm loving like now we're getting into like kind of like the espionage, the spy world of things, and how like the pieces are starting to move around. Yeah, I'm really digging this.
It just feels it's pacing more like a movie than a show, and I appreciate that. I saw some article where Gilroy was talking about how he basically was saying Gilroy? Like Tony was talking about how like kind of I'm not not shitting on the volume. He's like there's certain things that it's perfect for, but we knew we wanted to do a lot of other stuff like build out stuff, and he's like saying how the first thing he does is go to his production people and say like what can we do? These are the types of scenes I want to do. What can we do? Just to get an idea. But he's like, you kind of have to do one or the other because you got to book the volume. You're either kind of all in on the volume or you're not.
Yeah.
And he's like, so in the end, we just didn't really end up getting to use it because we were just, so built out with actual real sets. But pause for a moment because you're listening to the show. And if you'd like to find any more of our episodes, and we hope you do, from a certain point askew.com, please reach out to us on Twitter at FACPApod. You can email the show, and a couple of emails came in. FACPApod@gmail.com, and we are part of the Podawan Podcast Network at Podawans on Twitter. We did, as a last-minute gift from Mike Laybourne, friend of the show, get a Lego lightsaber that I continue to forget to post pictures of, but I'll throw them out there this week maybe, and you can win that. So if you send us a Maul Bag email, you get one entry for that, and if you write a review on your podcast app and let us know, you'll get 3 entries for that, and at the end, we'll tabulate it all up, and the more entries you got, the better chance you get to win, unless your name's Mike.
Now, is Mike Laybourne, does he glue the pieces together? Is this like solid?
I don't know that he glued it. I think he just put it together a standard Lego construction format, but he could speak to that. By the way, he is now the proud owner of the giveaway saber that he won, the hilt that he won. He already got it. I couldn't believe it got there that fast.
How am I not seeing pictures? Well, right now they're dirty, so I got to wait a while until he's bored with it. And then I'll send better ones, ones he can share on Twitter.
He only sent me a picture of the box sitting on his desk or something. Like, holy shit, I thought you said it was going to take a couple months. I was like, yeah, when I ordered the thing, it said it could take 8 to 12 weeks.
Wow.
It's already there. I don't know how that happened so fast.
Awesome. Well, congrats, Mike. I'm glad you won the Darksaber. Well, you did not. It was the hilt, right?
It was a hilt.
The Kenobi
hilt.
Yeah.
Kenobi hilt. Yep.
Okay. Well, show particulars. Or you got all that out? Did you get all of it?
I got it all. We're good.
All right. So on the show today, we've got a question of the week. Who was Luthen before the Empire needed a spanking? We've got the Andor episode 4 review. We're going to go through that, and I think we've got a lot to add to this. There's things I think that we've noticed that no other Star Wars podcast has ever seen.
I hope so.
Yeah. Topic. Maul Bag. We've got 2 in the Maul Bag, and the FACPAtoid. We're going to wrap up the show with Andor's gun still has that new car smell.
Love that new car smell. Did I ever tell you about the time I went shopping for a new car for my lady friend, and the guy was trying to sell us on this car, and we were kind of not really digging it, but he was doing his best to sell it. And at one point, as we're doing the test drive, he literally said, "New car smell, of course."
Really?
You're going to sell that
was
as
a selling point?
New car smell, of course. No plates. You'll get brand new plates. Just so you know. Yeah, we get it. We know how new cars work. Fuck. Anyway.
This seatbelt has never been used.
Right. Exactly. Oh man. All right. So, question of the week.
Why is Luthen risking everything to build the rebellion? What is his origin story? I want to know what his origin story is. I'm fascinated by this character the more that we've gotten into it.
Yeah, so given what he's doing now, which we'll talk about here shortly with the episode recap, he must not be known. I mean, he's in disguise.
Right.
But you still could kind of, you know what I mean?
I called it. He's like Batman.
Yeah, right. Good point. I forgot about that. And that's the funny thing is we were looking at that in the previews and thinking, is this a time jump?
Yes.
Because of but no, it's not. It's just his disguise, which when he goes into that disguise, it's so fucking awesome and funny. So I'm wondering if he's just not very well known. Like he's not somebody that was known before. So how does he get pulled into it? Is it like a personal thing where the Empire fucked his world over? So he's like, I'm going to do everything I can to get revenge, or is it, or somebody close to him get killed, his wife or something, and that's why he's doing it. I'm trying to figure out. There's got to be some sort of personal stake that caused him to commit himself so much to this cause, other than just being like, these people suck.
Not like, is it old family money? Is it just like he's an older man? So is it like stuff that he's accrued, like all the art stuff and everything he's got? He's a collector. I think that's turned into like his like facade, like this is what I am, but really, then he's out there masquerading as an insurrectionist. Well,
and he clearly needs the dough because he's bothering Mon for it.
Right,
so it's not like he's totally flesh with Cassian fronting this whole thing,
Yeah, so maybe
he's kind of an organizer.
So was he always Luthen? Maybe he was someone else, and Luthen died during the fucking the fall of the Republic. When the war was happening.
Identity.
Yeah, he just took the identity over. Maybe he's a Jedi in disguise.
I don't think so, but I like where your head's going.
Yeah, just a little. You wouldn't expect that, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't, I guess. I mean, the only sniff of Jedi that we've got so far is, and we'll talk about it a little bit, is that when they mentioned that temple, toward the end of the episode, and I thought, are they gonna pull the Jedi stuff out? But other than that, yeah, I mean, I no clues as to him being a Jedi. I think he was personally affected by something the Empire did. And he's like, I'm gonna fuck these people over until the last thing I do.
And knowing the Gilroys, it's gonna just be this haunting backstory. If we get it.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, well, then that's what we got to do. And then we got to have a spin-off Luthen series.
Oh, maybe they'll do a backstory. It'll be like, have you ever watched Nightcrawler?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Which was Dan Gilroy, who wrote this episode.
I love that movie.
Just get a creepy young Luthen.
Oh, God. I mean, Gyllenhaal is so fucking freaky in that movie. I mean, it is really well done. And who's in that movie, too, is... I'm forgetting his name. Is it Riz Ahmed? Is that his name? The guy who played Bodhi.
He's the camera guy, right?
In Rogue One is the camera guy that he hires. Yeah.
Yep,
so
that's right.
It all comes together.
It does.
Okay. Well, let's fucking get into Andor then. Obviously, the first 3 episodes we talked about last week really set the tone for kind of where Cassian comes from and kind of his current interests. And as much as he's like sort of helping the cause tangentially, it's not really his motivator. I mean, he was pulled into it by Marva, of course, but like he seems to be really motivated by, I want to make money, I want to get laid because this guy fucks.
Yeah, he does.
And so that's why it made me think more about it this week. I thought, that could have been one of the things that really drew him to Jyn, because when he meets Jyn Erso, she's in a very similar position. She's a survivalist. She's just trying to live. What does she say to Saw Gerrera? You just don't look up and you won't see the galactic flags.
Right, yeah.
Or the Imperial flags. Just kind of like staying on course for themselves and really worrying about just, making their life the best they can. And because he says at one point to Luthen, he's like, hey, you'll live, or whatever he said. So that's kind of what his motivation is at this point. But now we're kind of pivoting into the buildup of how the Empire is. Yeah. Which is so fucking cool to see that stuff. And what's starting to pull him, pull Cassian in a different direction. So
I mean, his sales speech kind of got a little. He didn't hit him with new car smell, but it was tighter, more concise, and really kind of like. I think what won him over was really like the whole Han Solo thing, right? Because he's just like, and you'll get paid. And that kind of, he started listening to it, as he's like bandaging his laser wound. And first of all, that ship is fucking amazing.
Oh yeah. That's pretty sweet.
Have you looked anything up for it? Because I'm trying to. I didn't do a deep dive, but I'm like, does the ship have a name? Like, what's going on here?
He said Fondor something. I can't remember what it was, but he said he had flown them, but he had never seen them souped up like the one that Luthen's flying.
We're gonna call it the Eon Eagle.
Okay.
Instead of the Millennium Falcon.
I like it. When they first show them and he's like cleaning himself up or whatever, Cassian's just like totally poo-pooing on everything Luthen's saying, and that's when he gets into the whole like, basically saying like all these pieces of the rebellion, whatever it is now, are all useless. And that's when he mentions like, he's like, who are you with? And he throws out Alliance, Sep. Was it Sep? He says Sep. I assume maybe that's Separatist.
That's what I was thinking. It was like shorthand or something. Yeah.
Could be. He says Guerrilla, which would be like fucking Ghost Crew. Yes. And then
Partisans.
The Partisans, right, which is Saw Gerrera.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he kind of throws that out, but it just speaks to the fractured nature of the rebellion as it stands right now and how it's all these different pieces. Because of course Luthen's like, what's the difference? Like they're all they're all kind of the same.
They're all out to get the Empire.
Right, and so I think that's obviously his vision: bring all those people together to form this one gigantic.
Is it his, or is he still like? I mean, and maybe he's like the leader of his own little faction or something. I mean, he seems to be aware of those, but it seems maybe it is. Maybe you're right. And then Mon Mothma is more of like she's bringing in the money, so they can kind of build a structure.
Well, to that point, he does say to Mon when later she says, "I have somebody I want to bring in or whatever," and he's like, "No, we don't need to bring in any more people. Like it's like we're not expanding the circle." So I don't know. Maybe he is not trying to put all those connections together. He's just feeding the different ones and saying, "You know what? I'm the centerpiece. I can feed all these different factions. I don't care if they're united." And
is he kind of a hypocrite because he just threw an extra person into the group, just pissed off Vel?
Right. He brings it. Yeah. He brings in Cassian, and then he's like, "Yeah, no more. I'm cutting him off right now."
No, woman, you have no say in this.
Yeah, I don't know. You mentioned it gets. There's a point where Cassian's talking about how, hey, look, like you don't know me. I was, I went straight out of prison and into the mud. And he starts talking about Mimban, which is the planet we see in Solo, a Star Wars story. Great movie.
It's one of the. I hear Chris Villanueva loves it. He falls asleep to it every night. Solo, because he's divorced.
But he's like, yeah, I was in there for 2 years, and then I love it because Luthen just calls him on his bullshit. He's like, you were a fucking cook for 6 months, and then you ran. So he's like, I don't blame you, but let's not represent things that you didn't do.
You ran to Canada.
And the look on Cassian's face immediately, he's like, shit, you got me there.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, what he's referencing is that Battle of Mimban. By the way, so that happened around 10 BBY, the Battle of Mimban.
Yep.
Okay, so it's 5 years prior to where we are now. I start to get real confused again with the timelines because like when I was looking up something, or actually I think it was Mo on Twitter, who's a huge Rogue One fan. She pointed out this link to me that is from StarWars.com talking about, it mentions when Casa gets kidnapped or rescued, whatever you want to call it. They're saying that was before the Clone Wars. I can't figure out the timing of this at all, because if that's before the Clone Wars, then that's like 12 years prior to the Battle of Mimban. So he wasn't 4 years old then. I don't get it.
How old? Have we figured out his age? Did you say last time he was like late 20s in this? We're supposed to believe he's 29?
No, Wikipedia originally, and they may have changed it, I don't know, I haven't looked lately, they had him as basically 26 years old in Rogue One. So he would be 21 years old right now. And it's like, I don't think so. No. So I think they're kind of recrafting exactly what his age is.
Sure.
I don't know what the draw was to say he was born in 26 BBY or whatever. Yeah, it's a little confusing because clearly Casa was like 11, 12 years old, something like that in those flashbacks we saw.
Right.
I don't know. It's just it's hard to try to put it all together. We need Cole. We need Cole back.
We do. Yep. Timeline warrior.
Yeah, right. Then, so Luthen is like, okay, we're going to Aldhani. I got a small team, perfect plan. Everything's good. We're gonna rob like the quarterly payroll of the sector. I fucking
love this idea.
It's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's odd that it's all there. Clearly, they don't do online funding or like direct deposit.
It's the quarterly payroll for that sector, right?
Right.
So it was, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, no one's got like, and they got iPads now. You've seen them. They're carrying them around.
How are we not?
They don't have PayPal yet.
Yeah, are we just worried about security? We just don't want to throw our funds around that way. You got to have actual hard cash. I don't know. So then that's kind of how he gets Cassian, because he's like, I'm going to pay you 200,000 credits, which of course is a freaking gazillion dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So then we go back to Coruscant. Oh, fucking boy. That shot they show Coruscant when they're coming over the top, it almost looks like New York City, but like 1,300 levels down.
Yeah,
go down below the city level. Yeah. I was amazed by that shot. And I thought Coruscant in general, the shots, like even when they show later where Syril goes home.
Like when he lands and walks through the airport. Yeah. But then
even when he goes home.
But it kind of turns into like these cement like projects, like the poor area. It was like, it almost like shows what the Empire did with some of Coruscant, you know, like where are we going to put the poor people at?
Yeah, because he was going down.
Yes, he was.
Quite a ways. Mm-hmm. I looked really quickly to see it the second time I watched it. And he punches in like 92. I'm like, okay, he's not near the top. He's way down.
When you got to punch it 92 to go down, that's saying something.
That's pretty far down, right? We have this ISB, this fun ISB meeting, which is just hilarious because it's all these people giving these like their regional updates to this guy, Major Portagaz, I think is how you say his name. This motherfucker, whoo, he just levels everybody.
Yeah, he's not one for like, he's not one of those managers that's proud of his team.
No, and he's not going to do any small talk. It's cut to the chase and give me your fucking, and he wants those goddamn reports. Like he keeps talking about how you haven't turned in your report. You haven't turned in your report. Hey, at least he turned in his report. He's very much about the.
He tells the guy, "Don't bother. I'm reassigning it. Someone else will write your report."
He's like, wait. Oh,
yeah.
It's just this fun like office politics like silliness that they interject in there, but it also kind of, you know, gives you almost like a taste of what we saw in A New Hope, you know, like when Tarkin's having that meeting and all those guys are sitting around the table and, you know, getting their ass chewed for different things. It's just kind of, it gives you a flavor of the silly bureaucracy of the Empire and how everybody's kind of out for themselves and watching their back.
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes them rather inefficient. By the way, you also get some really fun mentions here. The first gal who's talking references some detentions on Ryloth.
Yep.
So there's a little Syndulla action. The next guy starts talking about Arvala 6, which I looked up. Arvala 7 is where we meet Quill and where Mando finds Baby Yoda. So I'm assuming they're close by.
Yep, they're neighbors.
They're neighbors. And then also the one guy says that there's been an increase in construction shipments going to Scarif. I wonder what's being built above Scarif. Yeah. So that was kind of fun. So they are doing a little bit, you know, a couple of the winks and nods, more so this episode than we saw in the first 3 episodes, especially when we get to the damn, you know, Artifacts Museum.
But I mean, that last line kind of, I mean, that pays tribute right to Rogue One, so it makes sense to be there.
Right, absolutely. Yep.
So we haven't gotten to Mon Mothma yet, but like when she says, I want to bring someone in too, do you have any ideas?
That could be a lot of people. I mean, your first thought might go to Bail, but I think maybe he's already involved. So
Fulcrum.
Maybe he's right. That's the other thought is, are we talking about Ahsoka? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it plays nicely into the fact that we've got a series coming out next year.
Yeah.
So, and they like to do that. They like to kind of give those nods. So I could definitely see that. She's heavily involved in that, as we learned in Star Wars Rebels.
Right.
That's a good guess.
I mean, the big guesses would have to be, it would be Organa, Ahsoka,
or Leia, but she'd be pretty young.
Yeah, and I don't think she plays into. She's too young to be aware of this yet, I think.
I mean, she would be. She shows up in Rebels as like a teenager. Remember?
Right.
We see her in Rebels, and she's kind of working shit. So it's possible, but I don't think they would have her as a character.
Do you think the Gilroys have like the big enough balls, or even like the arrogance to make it Jar Jar?
I don't think so.
Because like by now, isn't Jar Jar like kind of like a representative or some type of, you know?
He was down the stretch.
Yeah.
I don't know if he maintained that to this point, but that would, I mean, people's heads would explode.
That's what I'm saying. Like the Gilroys are like, we got this. Don't worry. You're going to love him by episode 12.
Get a lot of attention out of this. So on Aldhani, Cassian shaves his beard. And he's like, you need a new name. He's like, Clem. I'm like, well, I mean, that was your dad's name. That's not the best. Like, can we pick something totally random?
I know.
I hope that doesn't get back to him. And then he gives him that blue kyber crystal.
Yeah.
Those things are kind of floating around because I think Marva had one hanging on her, like the fuzzy dice.
Well, they all seem to use them as like these tokens, right?
Right.
Because
like
Jin. Yeah, exactly. Everyone kind of has one.
Yeah. And he makes this reference, which I was not familiar with because I never really played that game. He said this was like celebrating the uprising against the Rakuten invaders. That's from the Knights of the Old Republic. I don't remember that whole thing.
Yeah, I don't either, but I just like you, I had to look that up and see what that was.
Yeah.
But I do have to say, this might be like the largest Kyber crystal. Like, Luthen's all about size.
Yeah, it's not a little like pendant like Jin has. It's a fucking full-on long dog.
Yeah, you could shake like a Wookiee with this thing.
I think you could. Yeah, and he's basically giving that to him like as collateral. You know, like this is worth at least 50,000. So, and he's like, "What about my rest of my money?" He's like, "This is, Yeah,
he says something about 50,000 against 200,000. He goes, "You're going to have to trust me," or something.
Right.
As he walks out of the
ship,
the Eon Eagle.
And then I love how while he's outside talking to Vel, Cassian's like looking at the controls of the ship, and the fucking computer's like, "Can I fucking help you?" Oh, that was fun. That was a nice touch. He's like, "No, I'm good."
I like how like he's sitting there and this is gonna be just stay on the ship. I'm gonna get a little yelling at here. Like, he already knows he's in trouble.
Oh man. And then I love the meeting with Luthen and Vel, and she is just not happy to be bringing on a new team member so late in the game. It's kind of foreshadowing to how they're all going to treat him as kind of this late edition unwanted guy.
Right.
It's like the Kevin Bacon in Apollo 13 character. It's like, why the fuck are you here? We know each other. We have this thing down. We've practiced it, and now we're bringing in a dude late to try to come in and do work with us. No way.
It's just this Luthen's not like telling her he's got chlamydia, so he brings in Andor.
I can't tell you why.
Yeah.
By the way, we got a late third email, which has a very interesting theory, which we'll talk about here in a bit.
I'm excited.
Yeah. But then that's when you get she's like, I don't want to do this. And he's basically like, tough titties. Like, either we're doing it or the mission's done. So you fucking decide, because you need another person. You're shorthanded. He's kind of shitting on her team a little bit. Yeah. But then that's when she's like kind of looking away, like, whatever. And he goes, "Look at me."
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
It's almost like a dad yelling at his child.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah.
That would be the theory.
And there's some trust, like, why does he trust her so much, Mm-hmm. So I kind of got that.
Yeah, you wanted to be a leader? This is it. So has she been saying all along, "Dad, I need you to fucking let me do this shit"? Yeah.
Well, maybe, you're onto something with, like, there's a family event that happened that put him into play. So it's him and his daughter, like, kind of doing this, and she's heading up this team. Well, he's kind of being the go-between of everything.
Right. She lost her mom, maybe some siblings, and she's just as much wanting revenge as he is.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that his confession that he was going to cancel the whole thing was true, or is that just like a...
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it was.
I think he was just saying that
I was
to
on
be
the
like,
verge of canceling things, but poof, Andor showed up, so we're going to use him.
That's a total parent move.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like, just to straight up fucking lie to your kid to be like, "Look, I was going to cancel, you weren't even going to do any of this stuff." Like, now you were, but it's a total parent trick. So then on the walk back to the camp, Vel's like explaining the mission and how they're taking on this garrison. And he's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah. Like, what are you talking about?"
And then he finds out he's one of 7 now.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, "This is not going to work." But I loved that shot of those fucking ties coming over the mountains. That was such a cool shot. There's something to me in this. I think I really noticed it when Force Awakens came out. There's something that I love so much about seeing craft that you're used to seeing in space in like on whatever, like an earthen type environment. Okay. There's something cool about that to me. It like makes it more real for some reason when they're not just out in the dead of space, but they're actually like flying over
I know
land.
What you're saying. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anyway, back on Ferrix. Holy shit. That Blevin dude is just dressing down those corpos, including Syril and Sergeant Mosk, our buddy Sergeant Mosk. And he's like, "I'm relieving you of your duties. Empire's taken over." And so I wanted to know what you thought of this. So there's a moment, because Syril is like, by the way, it's Syril Karen is his name. And at one point I was talking to Mike Laborn and he said something about, he started calling it Syril Karen. And I was like, "Oh, that's fucking perfect." Shout out to Mike Laborn. But there's a point where he's talking and realizing that the Empire is taking over, and he's like, he's booted out of his job. And I can't tell on his face if he's like, "Oh, fuck, I'm a failure. I got to go back to my mom's house." there was a little part of me that thought he was gonna like smirk and be like, sweet, like this is my way to get out of this bullshit job and try to fucking work my way into the Empire. But I might be reading too much there.
Yeah, I think so, because it looked like he was on the verge of tears. No, seriously, because like when whoever, he kind of like lets him know that he is responsible for the fact that now the Empire, and it all goes back to the speech that he got from his boss before he told him not to put his feet on the desk.
Right.
He's like, we've got to stay low. You don't want the Empire to know much. We give them just a little bit. They leave us alone. Yep. And he goes out there and fucking blows shit up and thinks he's the big bad.
First job out.
Yeah.
Yep. Fucks it up.
Yep.
There was some part of me that thought he was going to look at this as an opportunity, but yeah, you're probably right.
No, because he goes home with his tail between his legs.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, I don't think so. But I think, there's definitely something happening where I think it's going to, obviously, there's no reason for us to see why he goes home to keep him playing this episode if he's not going to come back and be like, you know what, you're going to get ranked. And I'm going to tell you what it is right now. It's Deirdre, and she's going to be like, hey, don't we both see the same proctologist? Because they both have their assholes sewn shut.
They do. They have a lot in common.
Good God.
I can't remember if I read something about it or I just always thought, boy, the way those two have acted in this trailer, they're going to end up like something, like a partnership or some sort of couple or something in the end, and she's just going to run him around. It's going to be hilarious. But speaking of Deidre, or Dedra, however he pronounced it, she's finally figured out, like, hold up, like that Starpath unit was discovered on Ferrix, and that's the one that we were missing from Steerguard. Like, this gives us a chance to like go after it and try to figure this shit out. I love how she sends her crony to tell Blevin. He's like, I don't think that's a good. I don't. She's like,
and he looks like he like spent, maybe 4 seconds washing the mascara from his eyes from the raid the night before. Like, there's just like a lot of darkness around his eyes where he's just like, you know what, I'm late for work, I'm going in.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't think he was happy that he got that assignment. And then she later goes in there and talks to him. Blevin's like, fuck off. Like, you know what? It was the old, like, don't choke on your aspirations kind of situation.
Yeah.
So,
but she seems to be onto something.
She does. Yep. I mean, she's doing everything she can. She's working any angle she can to get involved because she's got a theory about this rebellion, which is one of those things where in the end there's going to be a neener where she's going to be like, I've been telling you guys for fucking months. So then, Vel introduces Cassian to the crew, and none of them are really happy to see him. Although Nemec is kind of like, all right, I got to be open to this. The younger guy, I think he's like, sweet, someone else to get picked on. And this is when I thought was one of the real fun parts of the episode, and that's when Luthen heads to Coruscant, because when he goes to change and get into character, I love the fact that he's putting on all the rings, he's putting on the wig, and then all of a sudden you see his face change, and he goes into this like, he's like practicing it.
Yes.
And then
he's trying to like
right
bring it out of himself because he knows he's going to have to be full of shit in a few minutes. I want someone to take that and then, throw it up on Twitter, but they got to put in like John Lovett's acting right over it.
Right. Yeah, he's real over the top. He's pretty like this kind of like flamboyant, like real bubbly, artifacts gallery dealer, I guess is what you would call him. I love them showing him like change into that person because he's just this gruff dude otherwise. But then this entire scene when they're in the gallery is like a fucking Star Wars nerd's wet dream because there is so much going on in the background and so much more than I know. But I did figure out a few things that are happening. I mean, we have 40% knowledge, especially since we lost Cole. So we're going to do the best we can with some of the stuff.
We're at 40% now. That's true. Yeah.
But yeah, they had a Calicori back there, like Hera.
Yep.
Hera's family. They had some Mando armor.
Yep.
I think they had Plo Koon's mask in there.
Yeah, I saw an image of that. I didn't see it. Like, I wasn't looking around too much, but I remember seeing a still image of that.
Yeah. Right. Somebody pointed out that there are some pieces off to the side that look like part of the wall outside the temple in the World Between Worlds episode of Rebels.
Okay.
The father, son, daughter mural, and it's got the different
isn't that what he has in his, what's the one he has in his hands?
I don't know if that's what he has, because I was looking at that too, because there's also another shot that shows three of them kind of lined up next to each other, and I'm thinking, how is that possible? Because this all takes place before that happens.
Oh, right,
that mural is still live. I mean, after they leave World Between Worlds, like everything goes down into the ground. So I was like, I don't know if that's legit or not. I couldn't quite figure that part out. I don't know.
He also had what's his name's bat from The Walking Dead.
Right. It was a Utapawan something or other. I can't remember what he said it was. Yeah.
From the planet where Kenobi fights Grievous.
Yeah. It's cool to see him and her both doing this ruse to kind of like throw the guard or the driver off scent, and then they go in the back and just immediately change demeanor. But yeah, he's immediately like, we need some fucking dough, man. Like, we need some freaking dough.
That almost came out Jamaican. We need some dough, man.
We need some dough, man.
Episode title.
We need some dough, man. But yeah, and she's like, I mean, she is so fucking paranoid. I'm being watched. There's different people wherever I go. Like, there's spies everywhere. Like, it's hard to operate.
Right. There's some right to it. And he even notices, well, you've got a new driver, and she's like, yeah. So she can't trust anybody around her.
No. Yeah, and she feels alone.
Yeah.
He's operating in the shadows and doing his things, but she's like all kind of out there public facing for everything, including can't even confide in her fucking husband, who we'll talk about in a second because he's a dipshit.
Fucking twerp.
Oh, he's terrible. But then, she talks about, I think I found someone who can help me. We talked about that. And then we go back to the woods for a minute and we meet Lieutenant Gorn, who's working undercover for the Empire. And just the sound of the speeder bike just puts me right back into place. I'm just like, yes, that's so exciting. He's pissed about Clem being added to the team as well. But he mentions, and at one point he mentions that they're preparing for an Imperial engineer arriving from Coruscant. I was like, what's that supposed to mean? Then we go to Mon's apartment. Sweet fucking pad. She's living the life.
Who?
Mon Mothma.
Okay.
Your gal.
Yeah,
How was it for you, by the way? I forgot to ask. How was it?
So nice to see
her. To see her throughout this episode.
Although right when she's like, so something about her husband, I was like, you fucking bitch. Oh,
I thought we had something.
I know. But I'll tell you what, after I saw this goon face, I was like, Mon, I got two shoulders, cry on both of them.
They do not have a good marriage.
No.
It is very rocky.
No.
He's clearly loving the high life. He's not bothered by anything. He has no morals. He's just like, I'm just here to fucking enjoy this and enjoy all the excess that I get to experience by being in this position. Because do you think he even works? Do you think he's just like,
he's living off her dime. He's having fun gallivanting around with governors and
he's probably banging other girls too.
Oh yeah,
he's probably fucking like, people on the side.
Well, we got to have dinner parties every Wednesday.
Fucking asshole.
He is.
I mean, at one point, I love how he says, "Must everything be boring and sad?" Just because she's serious.
Yeah. Well, it's not.
What's his name?
Perrin. He's living in like some world of delusion.
Yeah, totally.
We're like, I mean, come on, this is your wife who is extremely passionate about what's going on. She's upset that this one planet like loses their trade restrictions, right? Like they're all going to starve and everything. And he's like, hey, I invited Jackass over to have dinner.
The other thing that was mentioned, because she looked at the seating chart, I love they had the seating chart out. She said, Ars Danger, who I believe is one of those fucking purple blue robe dudes who's one of the Emperor's like confidants that you see in Return of the Jedi and stuff.
Yeah.
The other, and this was what I mentioned to on our DM earlier, for Dave, Sly Moore, who is, quote from Dave, the bald chick standing next to Palps when he declares that it's going to be the Galactic Empire now.
Oh yes, yeah, you're right.
So that's that person. So she's coming to dinner also. So it's just all her political rivals that he's invited over. And I love how he's like, you sit down there with the boring people, I'll sit down here with the fun people.
This is like the dinner scene you wanted to see him Empire Strikes Back.
Right, exactly. Good point. And yeah, so then, by the way, she is clearly so miffed by this whole setup because she gets a little snooty with, she's like, get out of here.
Yeah, she goes like angry queen for a second. I was like, come on, Moth, you're better than that.
Come on. Yeah, you're a woman of the people. Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Blevin and Deidre, they start debating in front of the Major. Kind of like what they want to do. And she's, saying, I want the data from Ferrix so I can trace this theft of the Starpath unit to expose this activity in my jurisdiction. And, and she's like, I'm seeing these patterns of organized rebellion. Like, do you guys not see this?
Right.
And meanwhile, the Major's like, yeah, but don't people just steal stuff for money? Which is like, well, that's what Cassian does.
Well, yeah, I mean, it goes right to his speech about they're so fat and so stuck on themselves that they can't see or they don't believe that someone would be brave enough to just walk right in.
Right, exactly. Yep. But then, of course, again, the Major's like, hey, I know Blevin's kind of a douchebag, but he got his reports in. Yeah. And you have not. Fucking reports.
It's like dealing with you and the schedule.
You can call me Major, whatever his name is now. I think at that point we go to they're doing kind of the planning of the job they're going to do, which will happen in our next episode.
Yeah.
And I love how Nemec at one point is basically like, please excuse the crudity of this model. I didn't have time to make it to scale or paint it.
Yes. Like he just got done watching Back to the Future.
Absolutely. And Cassie is totally skeptical because he's like, how do you think we're going to escape in this fucking, freighter when they've got TIE fighters? We're going to get gunned down in like 2 seconds.
What a fucking brilliant plan they've got, though. You know, like every 3 years, these crystal stars come flying through the atmosphere and like they're going to hide in it. And like right away you think of the shot, that beautiful shot in the trailer.
Right.
And
right.
Like,
that's what I figured that had to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they mentioned the kind of that sacred temple, which I thought, are they going to do a Jedi thing? Or is it not? Are they going to do some sort of Force thing, just sneak it in there? Or are they going to stay away from it? It's just a reference, maybe.
I don't see it happening. Like, it just doesn't feel like it's something that's going to fit in this show, right?
Certainly not this early.
Well, yeah, and if they're in the middle of a heist, so they're not going to break away to some event where these freaking people are migrating toward the temple for the 3-year Northern Lights that's going to happen. But no, I would like for it to happen. Maybe there'll be some line of history or something that'll 5 years from now, some show will take off and be like,
yeah, there could be a reference. I mean, even in Rogue One, they had Chirrut Imwe was talking about the Force. She had the Kyber crystal. There's little references to it, but just not directly. So.
Yeah.
And then later on, they're sitting around the campfire, telling Cassian all the things he's got to do. They're like, you need to do this, you need to do this. Here's a Aldani phrase book. You got to learn that shit by morning. And he's like, can I just finish my fucking dinner?
She's like, you can finish your dinner, you can get your wound dressed, and then you will learn these phrases by morning.
It's gonna be an all-nighter, pal.
He's like, I haven't slept in 3 fucking days.
Right. I just got here.
Yeah.
He's totally up for everything.
I mean, I gotta say, if I got shot in the arm with a laser, I'd need at least a nap.
You would think so.
Yeah.
Maybe he snuck one in there somewhere. We just don't know. But he looks pretty damn busy because coming in so late. But he's up for everything. Like he's telling him how this is a suicide mission, which of course is interesting because his ultimate fate, he's going to be going on a suicide mission. But he's like saying all this stuff about how this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. And they're like, well, this is the plan. So you in? He's like, yeah. And he says no options.
I mean, it really doesn't. Like even back to the beginning of the episode where he's like, well, I'll just have you drop me off somewhere. And he's like, and what? Just keep running? Like, you're done for, buddy. He's like, no, I've got this covered. My name is Clem now.
Totally going to get away with it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the episode. Like I said, we spent those first 3 episodes really setting the tone and where Cassian was and all those kind of roots of that side of the story. And then this was really bringing in everything else. It kind of like introduced the rest of the main characters to the story and, showed you a lot of where the Empire is, which I really am always entertained by watching the inner workings of the Empire during their heyday. Cause it's just such a cool area to witness and like see how it grew.
How many minutes were you into this show before you realized there's no flashbacks?
I didn't even think about it, really.
No?
I didn't think about it that entire episode because I feel like, well, and it's funny you mentioned that because I think last week I said, there's that shot of him in the prison and breaking out. I bet you that's a flashback because they mentioned his prison records.
Yep.
That's not, I don't think that's true at all.
No.
It's going to be going forward in the current timeline where he's going to be in that prison.
You think it's part of, well, yeah, you're right, because they show it and it's not the heist place.
It's not like, the heist place. It's different.
Right.
Yeah, yep. But I thought it was a callback, but clearly he went straight, the way he got out of prison was he enrolled in the damn fucking army and as a cook. Like that's how he got out. So yeah, that's going to be something we're going to see. He's going to get captured at some point, or he's going to purposely place himself there.
Right.
Maybe on some
another
recon.
Mission. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Could be. We're going to see that dinner party because we've seen it all in the trailer. It's all those people kind of maneuvering around, her being nervous, walking around that place. That gentleman that she talked to, who I thought at first maybe that was her husband. I didn't realize it was this other dude with the fucking man bun or whatever he's got going on there.
Yeah.
Perrin. But that's clearly her trying to feel out and see who are my allies here. Like, who can I talk to about this shit? I think it's going to be one of those deals. The boring people at the end of the table with her are the people that are in cahoots with her, potentially.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I want to see how far her and the hubs go. And do you think, like, I feel like he's going to catch on to something and
he's going to sell her out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking ass. He's going to
get jealous, just like Dick Boy Tim from last episode.
Shithead Tim.
Yeah, Shithead Tim.
This will be Shithead Perrin.
Yeah.
And I think he's probably going to die. Like, let's just go ahead and chalk that one up because he's going to do something stupid. He's going to think he's making the right play for himself. He's a selfish prick, and he's going to end up getting capped.
Yep.
I think. Anyway.
Yeah. He's like, you know what? I'm divorcing you, and I get the apartment.
And remember that gal that you yelled at who came in and was setting the table?
She's
having
my baby
for 6 months. I think we might steer clear, at least maybe this next episode, from Luthen for a minute until this job is done. Like, I think the focus is going to be on this job, and then we'll catch up to Luthen
Pick back
later.
up with him, yeah.
At this point, I think it's mostly about Mon at that dinner party and the job that they're running. I think that's probably going to be what we're going to see in episode 5, I would assume. And by the way, we saw that shot in the trailer where they're like running onto that dam, they're rappelling down. Like, so that's all that shit we're going to see, that TIE fighter flying over and all that kind of thing. So, and like you mentioned, that beautiful shot where he's flying away and all the fucking sky's on fire.
Yeah.
I think that's also what we'll see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yep. So I can't fucking wait. It just continues to deliver. I mean, it's a nice build. And I don't know what else to say other than it's going to be sad when it's over.
I know. Yeah. I'm glad there's a second season like already coming. Like, well, I mean, it'll be a while.
We'll have to wait.
Yeah, they're working on it.
But they give us a lot of stuff in between, which is nice. So anything else you had on that episode, or what's next?
No, I think we got to pretty much everything here.
Okay. Well, then let's go to the Maul Bag.
Hello there.
You've got mail.
And if you like audio drops, who's up first?
Mike Laybourne.
Uh-oh, Mike Laybourne.
Why don't you eat my ass, Mike? That's my response to that.
All right. Got a couple for Mike Laybourne. First
my
one.
neighbor.
Poor Cole. Is Syril Karen, more of a prick than Toro Calican? I'll let you answer first.
I would say obviously.
You think Syril is more of a prick?
Yeah, I think so. In a different way. I think Toro Calican was an arrogant twat, but Syril is, I think, like, we're going to see him move up. I don't think this is going to be the last we're going to see of this character.
I still think there's a chance that he's going to shift.
Oh, you think he's the one that's going to learn the lesson? I was thinking maybe Deirdre is like maybe not as pompous as we think she is. But you're right.
It could
be.
Right. I think he's more likely. I think he's more likely, but I could be wrong. But I, in my book, of course, nobody can be a bigger prick than Toro Calican. I think Syril is just like this mental fucking mess. You know, I mean, he's overcompensating for shortcomings, and he's got this domineering mom who he didn't want to go home to. I just think he's almost like some sort of tragic character that's going to maybe turn and then see his demise or something like that. I could see that happening. Toro is just a fucking cunt. So.
What do you think the slap was for? Like, was it like you shamed our family?
No, that's a good thought, because she could be all about that guilt. But I think it's more like he took off and fucking left her because he was sick of dealing with her shit and ran off to join the corporate police.
Okay, all right.
And she was like, "Oh, you just fucking bail?" Because she opens the door, and I don't know if it was just poor acting or meant to be this way, but there's a 2-second delay, and then she goes, it was almost like she didn't recognize him for a second.
Oh, okay.
You notice that?
He's been gone a while.
Yeah, I think he's been gone a while. So, I don't know.
It's been a long time since I've seen that sneer in those thin lips.
She was so mad. Email number 2 from Mike Laybourne. Is there any Star Wars content that you've given up on partway through, or at least forced yourself to finish? For me, it was Visions. Finished, but lost interest after the first one. Resistance and the latest Thrawn book. Gave up on both of those. What about you?
I know that I'm going to have to force myself to watch the holiday special.
You still haven't watched it?
I mean, years ago I've seen bits and pieces. I don't know if I've ever sat through the whole thing.
If you go find Podawan's podcast network out there, I think it's episode 3. There's a very good breakdown of exactly what happens in that crazy fucking show.
I listened to that.
It has so many different elements that you're like, what? How did this happen? It's mind-blowing.
Visions was rough for me, and I've not read the newest Thrawn trilogy of books, The Ascension and all that, but it doesn't interest me. But it does. Maybe I'll read the Wikipedia. I want to know the story, but I don't know if I can set in for a couple of days reading that book. I don't know if I have the time for it.
Well, I don't want to say I've given up on Light of the Jedi, but I was planning on reading it to my kids, and so we did for a while, maybe half the book, and then they just stopped having an interest in it, and so then I was like, well, so I'm reading this on my own. But then by then, I started reading the Aftermath trilogy. I read Master and Apprentice. I just started reading Heir to the Empire.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought I'd read through those, even though they're older, like 30 years old now.
Yeah, those are good Thrawn books.
Are they okay? I just can't bring myself back around. It's cool, by the way, to read those now, having experienced him in Star Wars Rebels, because every quote you read of his, you've got the voice.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's true.
I think also we have it on our list to go back to Resistance. He mentioned Resistance because I really checked out on that one pretty early. Okay. So I don't know if it was the animation style or what it was, but I just got out real quick. And so I think when we have a dead spot between shows, we'll do like a couple, review of those.
Yeah, I think I'm going to need the show to kind of go through that, because you're right. Like, it didn't really interest me too much to watch that. I think maybe I watched the first couple, just to see what it was like. But the animation's what kind of threw me off. And not that it's bad. It's just like that type doesn't really do anything for me.
Yeah, because I mean, it was right on the heels of Rebels, and I loved Rebels. Like, I got into Rebels right away, and just it grabbed me instantly. And I'm not necessarily the person who leans toward animation as much, but Rebels really got me.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of I think it's one of the all-time, like, if you're gonna rank Star Wars stories, Rebels is up there with the best.
It's up
ones.
there,
yeah,
for sure. It's really good and pretty tight. Like, I mean, early on, there's some kind of bonus episodes, or I don't want to say the word filler. But as it goes along, it gets real tightened up. And every fucking episode has something huge in it. It's pretty impressive. Okay, I got a third last-minute Maul Bag.
Okay.
This is from our friend, the Ithorian Historian.
Okay. Oh, good.
Hey, guys. Once again, we have been robbed of an Ithorian. So here are my top 5 should have been an Ithorian moments from episode 4 of Andor. 5, the main leader girl, who I think might be the old guy's dad, is an Ithorian. So he's referring to her, Luthen. Him being her dad. He kind of worded it weird, but he thought, why couldn't she have been an Ithorian? He just wants everybody to be an Ithorian.
He wouldn't have been her dad then.
Yeah, maybe an adopted father.
Yeah. No, I want that scene. Like, that's where they're arguing there. And she's like, "You're not my dad." She's a fucking Ithorian.
Talking out of both sides.
Yeah.
Look at us. You look nothing like me.
What was your first hint, stupid?
The next one is, number 4. Maybe like Doc Ondar helps out in the antique shop. That's the guy who runs the antiquity shop at Galaxy's Edge. So okay. That would make a lot of sense for him to be helping out Luthen, Even if like he's the third one, like he's just back there sweeping. Yeah. Or he's cleaning up the artifacts as they come in or something, getting them ready to present, whatever. Number 3, they acknowledge the planet Ithor exists in the space Abwehr meeting. I think that's how you pronounce that. That's like a Nazi intelligence group from fucking World War II. I love how he puts that in there. ABWEHR. I think that's Abwehr, something like that.
So the Imperial Security Bureau is where he wanted that to happen.
He wanted that name to come up to be like, hey, what's going on Ithor? Like, he wanted there to be like some sort of comment about it. They're going to mention Ryloth. You're going to mention all these other places. Number 2, Moma Nadon is there at some point. That's our friend from the cantina. The original Ithorian.
Yep.
And number 1, when Syril Karen gets to his mom. When Syril Karen gets to his mom's house, an Ithorian answers the door in a robe that's too small for him. What the fuck's going on, Mom? So it's 2 mouths, son. Oh my God, that was a great email. Hope everyone is enjoying the show. Best Ithorian Historian. Great email.
Good to hear from you.
Oh fuck, that's funny.
Oh man. Do you think his wife lets him leave the mask on every once in a while?
I hope so. I mean, he's always got it sitting there. Whenever we've recorded with him,
it's true.
He's always got it. It's always kind of sitting there. And the funny thing is, he'll always try to put it on, and it's so bloody hot. He ends up taking it off. He's just sweating his balls off.
So those are the three emails. We expect 3 to 17 more next episode.
I like that. That's a good call. That's fair. FACPApod@gmail.
I don't think we're asking for too much.
No, 3 minimum. Let's go.
Take part in the show. Are we doing the FACPAtoid now?
Yeah. You got a FACPAtoid?
I do. Okay, so I sent you this image. So I didn't pull this. I just saw this on the interwebs. I thought it was a little interesting, and it fits the show. So it says, Cassian Andor carries an MW20 Briar pistol. Right now, Bauer Fett's he's got a big old heart on. It's inspired by the K-16 Briar pistol in Star Wars Battlefront, which in turn was originally made famous by the Briar design used by Kyle Katarn in the Dark Forces games. The prop designers included enough extra features and design elements into Cassian's pistol that it warranted a new model number. Hence the joke, new car smell.
It's a kind of a badass looking piece, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to do some damage. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I fucking like that. But does he still have it with him? We don't even know.
That's a good question.
They didn't check him for weapons or anything when he showed up. So
Yeah, you're right.
might pull that thing out. We don't know. Anyway, all right.
That's it. That's all I got. So I guess I'll just say thank you, everyone, for listening. And until next week,
Podcasts are built on hope.
we have spoken.